Oh, I forgot to mention, if you haven't seen Telltale, don't watch this video. This might be a bad idea. I don't know if you can already see it, but the sun is like, yeah, you can see it. The sun's like glaring, going behind, glaring, going behind, glaring, going behind. And I'm trying to record with natural light today for the first time in God knows how long. If you're new to this series, which will be all of you, because this is strangely gonna come out before any of the other Beyond the Was for non-members. So for reference, this is number 6 or 7 in the Beyond the Was series, but it's gonna technically come out first. So everybody, welcome to Beyond the What. The reason we're talking about Telltale is because in the most recent video I didn't have any kind of discussion post episode, so this is like a question which I know is going to come up, and I knew from the start was going to come up of the episode, because we kind of got like a mini-ish redemption arc for a character, so I knew that I wanted to talk about it at some point, and that character is Kenny. Has my opinion of Kenny changed this episode? Because a lot of you will know Kenny hasn't really been in my good books at all. I think I've kind of gotten the bad sort of pick of decisions which have all led to like conflict with Kenny. Specifically Kenny as well, like all the other characters seem to be like perfectly fine, like they have good and bad moments, but with Kenny it almost always seems negative. Before we get into it, I just want to say, the reason I didn't talk at the end of Telltale is because I had some kind of allergic reaction yesterday, so like my neck all rashed up, and that's why I didn't record, because I was starting to feel real itchy, and I finished the Telltale and started editing it and went, oh, I'm not going to be able to do the outro, so I just wrote a little to be continued. And to be fair, it is to be continued. I ended on a much shorter note anyway. But yes, my opinion about Kenny, just to sort of make this clear, I genuinely feel like I've never hated Kenny, he's just frustrated me. Very, very similar to early on Shane. I know I keep comparing him to Shane, and it actually kind of annoys people, but I want people to sort of understand that it's not that he's like Shane in all senses. It's like he's just a little bit like Shane in the sense of the hot-headedness, the rash decisions, and like not really having a filter, so sort of just saying what comes to mind, even though it might be the practical thing to say, it's said in the wrong way, or the decisions are made in the wrong way, or like it's all sort of, it doesn't really feel like he knows how to navigate his decisions in this climate. He doesn't really adapt it to the group yet. And I spoke a lot in the last Beyond the Wall, a Shane Beyond the Wall, which unfortunately for most of you, you won't actually get that until like season 7 episode 5 comes out of The Walking Dead. Then after that you'll get the Beyond the Wall. But the reason I bring it up is because I spoke a lot then about Shane and how I felt like he wasn't a hated character, but it's just he didn't really fit the moment, he didn't really fit the group, because his decisions, a lot of people think his logic was more advanced and fit the world. I understand that view, but what I don't agree with is that it was the suitable mindset for the current group. Not the apocalypse, the group. If Shane had gone out and survived by himself, he probably would have survived a long time, right? But being in a group and having to like develop with other people, if you're not on that same wavelength, it's not going to work. So that's where I believe he went wrong, and ultimately you can't just sit here and say, oh, Shane was right, he would survive if another scenario had popped up. You can't just say that, because adapting to the apocalypse isn't just about adapting to the walkers and the world and the brutality, it's about adapting to the group. And that's my issue with Kenny, is I genuinely feel like the reason he butts heads with so many characters is because he doesn't really have a filter, and he never really, well, he still in my eyes is like, he's just a bit too rash, and it really gets to me when an argument spurs out or something happens and like he's there to just bark at someone, and it gets on my nerves. Has he done anything that's really annoyed me? Not really. Like, he's done things that are questionable. Like, I remember right from the start of the series when he sort of saved Duck, his kid, and then when Lee was sort of asking for his help to save the other guy, he sort of just ran off. If you want to know all my thoughts about that, you're going to have to go through the episodes of Telltale, unfortunately, because I don't have enough time to really go through every single decision he's made, but they're all there anyway. Has my opinion on him changed? Yes, it has, actually. So usually what I noticed with Kenny is he goes through this periods of irritating me like quite a bit. Not enough for me to hate him. Like, I don't want to banish him from the group. I genuinely like him, right? I like him, and I think he's integral to the group. Like, he's a cool character. But then it's those little things that annoy me. So he'll go through moments of battling with another character or butting heads with someone, and then he'll have a moment of like, oh my god, yes, that's exactly, yes, Kenny, finally. And then it will just completely 180 on you in like a matter of minutes, and then you're left in that same situation of, oh, for God's sakes, you're just not getting it, are you? The first thing I want to talk about before I get onto has my opinion changed is my sympathy for Kenny. So just like with Shane, I had so much sympathy for Shane, and people actually got quite annoyed at me for that. I think it's because Shane's definitely worse than Kenny. Like, I'm not, a lot of people also get a little bit frustrated when they say, well, he's nothing like Shane. I'm not saying he's exactly a spitting image of Shane. I'm saying there are elements that you can take apart. But yeah, my sympathy for Kenny is immense. Like, you can argue that him and Lee have butt heads for leadership and what to do, and like, of course the group dynamics are gonna suck right at the start. Really, they were all just trying to gather their feet. Now, the very first few decisions which annoyed me from Kenny, they were always decisions that he was making to protect his family, right? Like, you always sort of knew that the very first thing in his mind was protecting himself, or so he can look after his family, or protecting his family. And I think a lot of the time it comes across as he's being selfish, but it's really not selfishness. It's more just like, he doesn't want to risk losing the people he cares about. They're all sort of focused around that kind of thing. And it really does come across as selfish, like especially when you're playing as Lee, and a lot of the decisions that are made, like you're sort of waiting for Kenny to sort of step in or make some kind of contribution or help, even just like protect you, or all these different things, and he just doesn't do it. And at first you're thinking, like, for God's sakes, like, what are you doing? But then when you look at it and you look back retrospectively, it really was all about his family. Yes, his family then died, and that sucked. So he's been through the most, not probably say the most in the group, but since the onset, he's seen both of his family members die. One of them committed suicide, and the other one was going to turn into a walker. Both of them. And this was in the space of like, this was at exactly the same time as well. So he lost everything like that. And then everything beyond that, you can understand the spiral. You can understand the frustration. Then he finds out that Ben is involved in some sense. Now, obviously, Ben's not directly responsible, but he, in a sense, did something that put the group in jeopardy, and people, we paid the price for it. So he was mad at Ben, and you can understand why he's mad if you really look at it and go, like, it irritates you when he is that mad, because, for example, I think the writers have very, very, very specifically and intelligently put these kind of conflicts at moments where there are other things going on. So like, they sort of happen, and then you're like, just not now. For God's sakes, like, can we not? Because it's like, there's obviously impending doom, right? There's something going on in the immediate, and we have something we need to do, and it's frustrating. And I think they've done that on purpose, because it almost blinds you from like trying to understand it from Kenny's view, and instead you're looking at it like, oh, Kenny's done this and Kenny's done that, and Kenny, like, for God's sakes. And I literally am guilty of it, because I did it every single time. I just wanted us to move on. I just wanted us to get forward, and I wasn't thinking about Kenny. The thing is Kenny has been through so much, and arguably he's had no one there. Like, yes, we've been around for him, but if you take my sort of view on it, and obviously I'm driving the game, I've been neglecting the guy. The crazy thing is it took Kenny realizing that he'd been neglecting Ben for me to realize that I've been neglecting Kenny. So in the moment, I'm sort of thinking to myself, wow, like Kenny, like, and then Kenny says sorry, and I get this flood of emotion. And obviously we still have some conflicts in the latter part of that episode, but the important thing to sort of note is, like, my opinion started to change, and I started to think to myself, maybe this is the start of like understanding Kenny. Ultimately, the moment when the opinion completely changes is his ultimate sacrifice. Now, let me just get this straight. I don't think the guy's dead. I genuinely think they've faked us out here. If you haven't seen The Walking Dead, skip forward 30 seconds. You've got about 5 seconds to do so. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, in 6 times 6, or whatever episode that they faked Glenn's death, when they did that, I wasn't really sure if it happened. Then we find out he didn't die, yada yada yada. I'm kind of annoyed that I played this after that, because that has kind of put me in the mindset of, if I see even a little bit of a possibility, I'm pretty sure he's alive. One, they didn't show him die. The thing is, this show is brutal, right? If they want to show someone die, they will show someone die. They haven't left really any death vague. So that leads me to believe he's alive. And also, you literally see him run off. You literally see him run. And when you look at it, there were windows all up that building. He could have smashed one, gotten in. He could have done a number of different things. But yeah, just like Glenn, my bet is he just smashed a window, got in, found his way through the building. Like, that act for me has completely sort of shifted my view on Kenny. As like, that's how I'm realizing that I was being selfish, neglecting him, and thinking he was being selfish. That's the moment that I'm realizing that he's more than just an argumentative, selfish. He was never selfish, but this was the moment that I realized he was so much more than that. And he genuinely cares about other people. Of all people as well, it shows you Ben who he deemed at one point responsible for the death of his family, he wanted to make sure that he didn't have his worst fear come true, and that's being eaten or turned into a walker. So he goes back, sacrifices himself, and I genuinely think he thinks he's gonna die. I'm pretty sure he escapes, but I don't think he went and did that thinking he would. He did that, so in my eyes, even if he survived, he still sacrificed everything. And this group needs him, 100%. The same way that I genuinely thought way back that Shane's logic a lot of the time was right. Right logic, wrong execution. That is exactly how I feel about Kenny. So his logic, I believe, is very important for the group. It's just, can we equip that more appropriately? So yes, my opinion has changed massively, and it just took all this for me to realize it, and it's crazy when you look back on it. I'll probably rewatch my Telltale episodes and go, shut up. But I think that's been perfectly written that way. He is supposed to be written this way. This is another reason why I avoid the comments, by the way, because the people that were getting frustrated at me, I'm not saying it's most of you, it's probably a massive minority of you, the people that are getting frustrated at me for not liking Kenny or disliking the way he does things are also the people that have seen the entire thing. So they know what he develops into if he survives, and I think he does. But even then, they've seen what I've seen now, so they're probably in a better understanding. They can rewatch it and go, oh no, that was right. They're lucky enough not to have their initial reaction plastered over YouTube. I was caring about Lee, I was caring about Clementine, and I was neglecting the others. I feel like everyone's supposed to become a little bit selfish when this sort of thing starts. I think that's just how it works. If he's dead, I'm gonna be gutted because I've just realized the connection like has hit. And yeah, I guess beyond that, there's all the stuff that's going on with Lee. I don't think, you know what, I don't think I need to go into like the whole part of the episode. I think I spoke throughout it, and if I didn't speak enough, I didn't speak enough. There's always the next reaction, we can get into those things. It's just amazing when you look back at it. Kenny was never looking out for himself. Not really, he was looking out for everyone. The purpose of this video is to get across that change in me and to notice my own negligence, my own selfishness, and I saw it straight away. Feel a little bit guilty for being so closed-minded, but hey, it's just a part of the journey. But anyway, that's all I got to say, guys. If you enjoyed as ever, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel for new content every single week. And of course, follow the Instagram, then you read with 2Ds. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the first Beyond the... Well, this will be the first one, even though that makes no sense. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. This has been your boy Dan, and I'll catch you in the next one.